This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at
Ossiacher Tal.
But before that, this video is brought to you by Andrew Young and A1 Trucker 330. Thank you for being farm barons. So the
Ossiacher Tal.
map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for PC players only. Now, the reason I believe this map is available for PC players is at least one of the required mods is a PC-only mod, and only unless the map author takes that mod out will we likely see this as a release for all platforms. Now, I'd also like to thank Google Translate for providing me the pronunciation of
Ossiacher Tal.
Thank you very much. Let's read a little bit of the description. Hello and welcome to my first map. I hope you have fun and let yourself be surprised. The map was created from my home country of Austria. The terrain and path structure corresponds to the nature of my homeland. On the map, you'll find 46 fields, 4 meadows, 4 forest areas, which are divided into large and small sections. You'll find a quaint village with a farmer's market where you can sell products from farming and productions. Biogas plant, inn, supermarket, agricultural trade, fish farm, sawmill are all installed as productions or sell outlets. In addition, a building site is prepared for free disposal. Free disposal, we're going to have to look that up. A player, you get started with a courtyard with 2 fields and various vehicles and machines. On the farm, you'll find various silos, workshops, hay storage, and 3 silage bunkers. Stables for cows, pigs, sheep, and chickens are also on the farm, while right outside the farm, we have an area for sheep and additional cow pasture. Let's go ahead and load in. And the mods that we're going to use, in addition to the mods that we typically use when we take a look at maps, which are additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, and field calculator, and precision farming, we're going to be using the animals placeable pack, the composite machine sheds, the fish farming mod, the German fire station, as well as the seed cleaner 1200 LG, silos multi-fruit, and the TMR mixing station. I will tell you, if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, the differences are going to be that you do not own any land, and you also have a various bank account, but the main farm is built out exactly how you see it here in new farmer mode. And in addition, you do still own machinery. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. I have to tell you, this PDA is rather deceiving because this map has a lot of varied terrain. In fact, the main farm itself is probably on about 4 different levels as far as elevation goes. This map does include all of the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 22. And if we take a look at our lands area, the main farmland is farmland ID 60. It is 19 acres in size and $46,000 to buy. Pretty darn cheap. We also have farmland ID 13 and 14. Those are 2 specific fields. Farmland ID 62 and 61 are the sheep and cow pastures, respectively, that are outside of the main farm. And then farmland ID 70 is the BGA, and that can be bought for the low price of $15,500. Let's go ahead and take a look at our other farmlands. And to do that, we're going to take a look at a farmland lease screen. That's going to show us the size of all the farmlands, if those farmlands include any field or fields which are included, and then ultimately how much is that farmland going to cost us. Now, the one thing that is grossly standing out at this point is that 1, the fields and farmland numbers are matching up 1 for 1, and 2, farmland is pretty darn cheap on this map. Here we have farmland ID 80, 0.3 acres, $0. That may be the building site that was listed as being free. Sorry about that. And now let's go ahead and take a look at our field calculator screen. Field calculator screen is going to show us the specific sizes of each specific field. Then we can go back and cross-reference that with the specific farmland, see how much it's going to cost us to buy that given field. Let's go ahead and take a look at this soil map. This map is making use of the generic soil map that is included with the precision farming mod. As you can see, the fields kind of in the middle of the map. We have a bit of loamy sand, sandy loam, and loam fields. Areas to the north and south are going to have more silty clay than those in the middle of the map. Taking a look at our crop counter, we do indeed have the standard crop counter that is available to us in Farm Sim 22. And taking a look at our prices screen, we also do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22. In addition to that, we can sell our eggs, wool, and milk, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. As we move down through our production items, we also do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game production items that are available to us in Farm Sim 22. Now, one thing that we do not have the ability to do is we do not have the ability to buy bulk lime, nor do we have the ability to sell stones at the start. If you are going to be playing with stones enabled, you will need to put down your own stone crusher or sell point. To that end, if you are playing with the Platinum expansion, you will also need to put down your own sell point because this map does not include a Platinum expansion compatible sell point. But if you are playing with pumps and hoses, don't be afraid. You do indeed have the ability to sell your separated manure over at the Pet Trade Bale. Also, this map has a fish farm, and there are multiple places to sell those fish that you're raising. With respect to our vehicle overview, we do indeed start out with a decent listing of starting equipment. It is all owned, none of it is leased, and has low operating hours, and therefore no maintenance issues whatsoever. We have 6 animal pens on the map. We have a chicken coop, pig area, 2 cow pastures, a sheep pasture, and a horse farm. This map does include contracts. As far as our production chains owned at the start, we start out with a TMR mixing station, as well as 2 large greenhouses. And this map does not have any collectibles. Taking a look at our starting fleet in new farmer mode, we start out with the Steyr 8150 tractor. We have then the Massey Ferguson 3670 medium tractor and the Nova 330 harvester. That harvester is paired up with the PowerStream 500 grain header. And then we also have the N40B Nardi header trailer. We have the Welger DK 115 trailer, as well as the Kuhn GMD 4411 side mower and the Pottinger Alpine Hit 4.4H header. We have the Top 342 Pottinger windrower, as well as the Boss Alpine 251 forage wagon. We have the Silo King TMR mixer, as well as the Kuhn RA 142 forage mixer, and then the Joskin Aquatrans 7300S water trailer. Now, we'll tell you one little thing. I use this Kuhn trailer to put straw in the animal pens. Makes it easy to put straw. I basically put 3 bales of straw in there, 12,000 liters. It's a whole lot easier to do that than to try to mix up TMR, whereas the Silo King is much better equipped for mixing TMR. It has a much better capacity to it. With respect to animal transport, we've got the NOAA TTW 140 animal transport trailer, the Hauer XB 190 front loaders. We have the universal bucket for that front loader. Then we round it all out with a pair of 650 kilogram front weights. Taking a look at our mods and DLCs page, you will see that we do not have any custom vehicles or implements that are a part of this map, but we do have the Seed Cleaner 1200 LG that is a required mod, and the required mod has Lumigen tank, and this is going to be used in order to clean your seed or basically produce your seed. Now, as far as our starting farm, we started here right by our farmhouse with Sleep Trigger. All of the fences you see here on the farm can be sold. In fact, nearly everything on the farm can be sold with a few minor exceptions. And we will try to point those minor exceptions out during this walk around. We've got our composite machine shed. We have one of our cow pastures here. It's going to hold 400 cattle. We have our milk trigger. We have our slurry trigger. And then we have our food trough located right there. I'm going to assume that we have our straw trigger inside, even though we do not have an unload icon. As far as some of the things that do not go away when you sell a building, this leaning wheelbarrow stays when you sell this building. We have our chicken coop. 150 chickens. We have our food trough and our egg spawn point. We have our pig area, and this cart also remains when you sell this pig area. So you have your food trough. We have our delivery point for our pigs. We have 400 pigs in this area. Our slurry trigger. We have a hayloft. So we have our dump point and our fill pipe. Some more composite sheds. And then we have this stack of logs, circular saw, and this stack of firewood. These items are also not sellable. And that basically concludes the list of things that are not sellable here at the main farm. Got our harvester in there. We have our horse pasture. So we have our food trough inside. And then our drop-off point for our horses. 8 horses in total. And at this point, let's go ahead and make our way down a level. So as we progress down, here we have our TMR mixer with our inputs and our output. We have our seed cleaner with our input for seed or grain and our Lumigen liquid. And we have our output for our seed. And we come over here and we can left click to rotate this pipe if you'd rather output out the back, or you can output basically out the side. Then as we move further down the farm, we have our farm silo. Then we have our 3 silage bunkers. And these are all 3-sided, closed-ended silage bunkers. And that is basically the main farm. Let's get a little bit of altitude so we can better appreciate the elevation changes that we see here on the map. And while we're doing that, we'll go ahead and do our 360-degree panorama. Oh, a couple things that I did miss here at the starting farm. Way off here beyond the large cow pasture, we have our 2 large greenhouses. And then we have the workshop trigger and a fuel trigger also over here. You'll see where they are with respect to the rest of the farm here in a moment. Outside the main farm, we have a pretty good drop off into a little village. We have a restaurant sell point down below. We have our farmers market also down below. We have the BGA, and I did buy the BGA land, and I was able to sell the BGA itself. Now, the things that I could not sell the scale, the easy shed, or these 3 pull-through bunkers. But there is a decent-sized area here that does get freed up when you do sell the BGA. Do know that these stationary cars will remain. We have our dairy down below here. And speaking of productions, This map has 15 productions built in. We have the TMR mixing station and the 2 large greenhouses at the main farm, as well as the PGA, dairy, cereal factory. We have the Taylor Spinnery oil mill, grain mill, bakery, carpentry, sugar mill, fish farming, and the sawmill. So here we have our cereal factory. We have our sawmill below. And then coming down the eastern side of the map, you can see our spinnery off to the right. Our vehicle shop is over here to the left. We're going to be coming back to that. We have our oil mill and a bakery. Our grain mill. And then tucked in a little bit of a forest just beside Field 40, we have our fish farming factory. As we continue across the southern edge of the map, let's go ahead and just kind of take a look across the map. You can see these drastic elevation changes, and where the trees and the ground goes way up there, that is actually where our starting farm is located. Here we have a grain sell point. We have our biomass heating plant located just below there. And then our carpentry is going to be located right here. You see our animal dealer over to the left. We have a gas station to the right. We're going to have one large sell point also down below. And we're going to go ahead and make our way over here to our vehicle shop, where we're going to go ahead and pick up our Mahindra. And then we will do our drive around portion. We're going to take a much closer look at all of the production areas and the sell points. Down here at the shop, we have our shop trigger just in front of the building. And then we have our maintenance, repair, and dealer trigger located here off to the side. You see we have a very large area for our vehicles to spawn in at, which is pretty good to see. We've got a decent gap in the fencing also for our vehicles to exit. Then just taking a quick look down the road, the trees and the signs are fairly well removed, so you should be okay with respect to driving some wider things down the road. Although I do know once we start going up the various inclines, the roads do narrow a bit. I think we'll go and make our way down here to the south first. Maybe hit the fish farming. We have our standard base game oil mill and bakery. Overall, for this guy's very first map, I think he's done a really good job. The elevation changes are wonderful to look at. So very easily to have your first map be kind of a flat map, because working with elevations in Giants Editor, for me, I found it extremely difficult to do well. So here we have our dump point, our pallet spawn point, and of course our interactive icon is at the back door. I feel like this map is likely going to play much larger than it feels. because of how these roads are set up. For example, to get to the bakery, which is just beside the oil mill, we've got a fair bit of driving. It's not just a real quick shot across the parking lot. We've got our pallet spawn point. We have our dump point here in the grass. And then we have our interactive icon at the front door. And then, like I said, to get out of here, we're going to have to double back around. I'm just going to take a real quick cut across the grass. Let's get to our grain mill. Well, I cut across some more than just a little bit of grass. Then we have our traditional grain mill. We have our dump point, interactive icon, and our pallet spawn point. This does have collisions. It is stationary. I see it blocking part of the unload trigger, but okay. Shouldn't be too hard to get a trailer in there and unload anyway. Now let's go ahead and take a look. Some of you may or may not be familiar with this fish farming mod. So we have our grain dump point, or our food dump point. We have our pallet spawn point where the fish are going to spawn in at. I believe that's going to be right there. Now this is going to be for our liquid inputs. Here we have our pallet spawn point for our fish. Now let's go ahead and buy this facility and see what the exact recipe is. $150,000 later, we now own the production area for fish farming. Corn and mineral feed is going to then produce us some fishes. So 200 units of corn, 50 units of mineral feed, going to give us 500 fish, which we're then going to be able to sell for $1,500. Pretty good markup on that by bringing a little bit of mineral feed into the mix and a little bit of corn. We're going to get $1,500 worth of fish. Pretty good deal. Now, of course, we are on easy economy because we did start this up in new farmer mode. Then what we'll do now is try to make our way across the map, the southern part of the map, and then loop around. The road network overall looks like a fairly big loop. Just pardon me. Pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. Coming through. As far as buyable lands, I was looking at that area down there being rather sparsely populated, and it looks like it may be somewhat set up for $21,000, and that's going to get us a pretty big area there. We could clear the trees pretty easily enough, then have a pretty decent sized area for building our own stuff here. Oh, look, it already says something. Play. What's this say? PLAT. Buildable. BAU. Yeah, we're gonna call this a buildable place. Even has a road going into it. slicked up my tires. Somebody slicked them up. Oh, it's good to see these road signs have no collisions on them. It's going to make it even easier to drive around with large stuff. Here we have our sale market sell point. Just going to take a little shortcut. Don't mind me any. Guess I really should have went the other way on that other road to get into our animal dealer. Let's just double back then. Narrow gate coming into our animal dealer, but we have our animal dealer unload trigger, or sell point. Then we have our animal dealer animal buy trigger here around the side. Now, when I drove past here, was I able to go into this building? What is this? Oh, it's just this. Man, I wanted to go inside the building. Okay, to our carpentry, we're going to need to take this narrow road up by this landslide. Very well done landslide here. So we're giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in, because we do have ample production built in, 15 production sites to be specifically. We are going to be giving the map a full point with respect to having built in the ability to sell all of our base game crops, production items, and animal outputs. We do not take away points if we do not have bulk lime, nor do we take away points if we do not have the ability to buy or sell our stones. So here we have our biomass heating plant. It would be nice if this was not just grass coming in here, but it's all right. Then this road is going to loop around field 27 or pasture 27 and take us to our carpentry facility. As far as the main farm buildings and is the farm customizable, while we can sell all of the farm buildings, there are a few deco items that we cannot sell that are not quite far out of the way enough. I feel that the wheelbarrow and the cart that is by the pig area is just enough in the way to potentially cause players some difficulty with respect to building out their own farm. So we're going to be taking off just a quarter of a point there. We have our carpentry workshop triggers right there, with our pallet spawn point on the side. We're going to go down a steep decline. So I want to try to save a little bit of time cutting back to a couple sell points that we have here at the lower elevation. Here we have our sugar mill. So we have our interactive trigger, our pallet spawn point, and our dump point around the back. And then we're going to have a grain sell point just past around the bend. Right here. Alright, now we will try to make our way quickly up past the main farm entrance. Here the road narrows a bit. When I first saw the map, I thought, oh, is this maybe a 4X map? It is not. It is a standard size map. But like I said, it's going to be restricted to PC players, predominantly because of the inclusion of at least one of the required mods being a PC-only mod. Alright, here we have the road going up to the main farm to our right. Then we have a restaurant sell point here to the left. We have our farmers market. Sell point, which is right here. I would like to see the yellow and black marker icons on some of these sell points, as opposed to just simply having the floaty blue icon. As far as buildings using the new texturing technique, we're going to give the map a full point there with respect to buildings and ground textures. Using the new texturing technique, we have a fuel point up here on the hill. And then as we dive down the slope, we have our BGA. Now, I'm not really sure how we're supposed to get into the BGA. Maybe there's a road somewhere. There is the road somewhere, because I remember the, there it is. So we have to go past the, fuel point, the fuel station. And then we can come down this hill. Okay. I explored the BGA earlier just in a flyover. There were scale, or 3 bunkers, our BGA. And again, these triggers pop up once you buy the land. So you do own the BGA once you own the land. Some maps I've seen where you have to buy the land and the biogas plant in a separate transaction. Coming up here, we have our base game dairy. Standard trigger assortment. We have our front interactive icon. We're going to have our dump point and spawn point around the back. Of our cereal factory coming up. And it's just standard cereal factory from Elm Creek. We've got our interactive trigger, dump point, and pallet spawn point around the back. Now this road is just about ready to make a final loop where we have our Taylor. So we have our wardrobe trigger, unload point, interactive icon, and pallet. Also around the back side, if you will. And speaking of back side, we're going to take this dirt road up kind of around the back side of the starting farm, which should lead us over here to at least one of those additional animal areas in the sheep pasture. Here we have a very, very hilly grass field 15. Very rough terrain here. You're going to need lots of good horsepower to navigate this back road. And here we have our sheep pasture. Oh, sorry, this is our cow pasture. 78 cows in this area. We have our water trough and our food trough. Doesn't look like this is going to be able to supply us with manure or slurry, given the fact that it is an outside pasture. Also, there is no milk trigger here for this area. So again, it's kind of set up for beef cattle or non-milk producing cattle. So you see our entrance to our farm down below, where we started this map at our farmhouse. Remember, all of this fencing can be sold. So we have our wool spawn point. We have our animal drop-off point. 250 sheep. We have our food and our water. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our build mode. Something we did not look at earlier. While we have a fair number of required mods, I would expect to see a decent collection of silos, sheds, and the like. Here we have our seed cleaner. As far as our productions go, we have our fish farm in here. Those are mixing stations. We do not have any custom greenhouses, or here we have the fish farming sell point if we need to put that down. But we already have a couple sell points that will accept fish. Do have a fair bit of custom animal pens, again as a result of the required mods. Standard deco items. And then as far as our ground textures go, pretty standard list of ground textures. A couple of new ones with respect to our cobblestone are not standard FS22 ground textures that we have seen to date. So guys, there you go. That is, let me get Google Translate up.
Ossiacher Tal.
Yeah, what do you all think of the map? And no, I'm not even going to try. Not even going to try to pronounce that one. That is a rough one, if you ask me. We're going to be giving this map a score of 4.75 out of 5. Again, the only real reason we deducted any real points here is because of the wheelbarrow and this cart. I just felt the cart was a bit too possibly in the way if I wanted to sell this and try to customize the farm area, because it's just kind of out here in the middle of the open. And then also this wheelbarrow, again, if you sell this cow pasture, it's just kind of out here in the middle of the open. Whereas the logs, the circular saw, and those items over here, I feel they are tucked up into the side enough that they really are not going to be that much in the way. Let me know your all's thoughts down in the comments below. And until next time, happy farming.